picked you to be the senior project. I'm like, oh, great.
Oh, they started this morning, everyone. I'm Don Shells, the principal here at Shepaug. I'd like to begin our time together by inviting our chorus to come up and sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's wonderful to see so many honored guests here today. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our superintendent, Dr. Reich, and the many friends of Major Reich and Major Reich's family, and other community members, and certainly to our Shepaug students, staff, and faculty. Welcome to this, our most sacred tradition, whereby we gather in the presence of a Gold Star family with reverence and gratitude to commemorate the life and accomplishments of Stephen Reich, and to honor a student whose dispositions remind us of the things that made Major Reich so special. I'm honored to be here in the presence of such distinguished guests for the third time now to revere the ideals that Stephen personified, to keep our memory sharp, and to seek comfort in the knowledge that our memory and understanding of Stephen's accomplishments and his sacrifice may inspire us all to carry on, dedicating ourselves to the causes that move us as he always did. Major Reich, as we know, led an honorable and storied life, some of which you saw a moment ago. People who knew him tell us he was certainly a person of action. He did not spend much time waiting on the world to change. Rather, he cultivated the skills one needs to become a change maker. And of course, his impact on the world remains, as evidenced by this ceremony today. Such a storied life stimulates and warrants lots of deep reflection. In the past, I've asked how we should properly honor our heroes and what it means to be a hero. Today, I'd like to focus on the idea of courage and how Stephen's incredible reserve of courage may inspire us all to build our own resilience. In one sense, this will be quite hard, at least for me, as I cannot fully comprehend the things that Major Reich did. He flew his helicopter into the heart of danger to save some Navy SEALs who were trapped. He flew directly at the danger without concern for himself. Imagine the degree of fortitude involved in that act. It was brave, selfless, and astonishing. Our survival instincts train us to recoil from danger, but Major Reich had a different priority. Sacrifice is not, I think, intrinsically glorious. It's painful and sad and messy and complicated, but also maybe very inspiring, especially in cases like this where strength was deployed for the purpose of kindness. If Major Reich were here today, I doubt he would require us to be as dauntless as he was. I doubt he would expect that we all stare down the specter of combat. But I think he would have a right to know we remember his valor, and he might wish that his actions would catalyze us to act bravely, each in accord with their own ability. I believe he would take a very wide view of bravery and would count it brave for us to be ourselves rather than simply conform. Stand up for what we believe to be true and right, even as a lone voice. Stand up for underdogs when doing so is not popular. Show kindness to others, even when that is not popular. Dare to try hard things and fail before we succeed. Change our minds when new evidence comes along, even when the new ideas we encounter may seem strange or difficult at first. Work hard even when we feel weary. Extend ourselves to people who seem different than us. Admit when we made a mistake or got something wrong, even when that leaves us feeling vulnerable and exposed. Care about and act on behalf of the community, even when we're afraid it might cost us. In fact, any other thing you can personally identify, and we all have them, that scares you, yet you face it down in the name of transcendence. Yes, Major Reich was brave. He carried out in epic proportions that wonderful quotation from Eleanor Roosevelt, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do." For most of us here today, we will never have to fly into deadly combat. I imagine that is a thing many of us think we could not do. If we never have to, and I hope we don't, it's thanks to Major Reich and people like him. He bought us space to explore the terrain mapped by Mrs. Roosevelt, to live in a free, stable, democratic sphere of law and order, and to use that space to grow by doing the things we think we cannot do. Our acts of courage, thanks to the people who kept us safe and keep us safe, need not depend on war. Our acts of courage, rather, may consist in finding the courage to grow and persevere in the face of the adversity we all face at one time or another. Let's pledge to honor Major Reich's bravery by cultivating our own, each in their own small way. Perhaps next year, when we return, we can each say that we tried to be brave when adversity struck, we tried to do the thing we thought we couldn't do, and we were inspired by Major Reich's example. Thank you very much for your presence here today, and now I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Mike Kirsten.
I didn't need these 19 years ago, but I need them now. Good morning and welcome. Thank you, Principal Shells. As you said, I think this is your third year, and you certainly have embraced this ceremony and understand the importance of it, so we thank you for that. I want to also welcome the students, the community, the faculty, any veterans who are among us today, and anybody else, friends of the community who are joining us. And I certainly want to reiterate and thank the band and the chorus and their directors, Beth Harvison, and I'm gonna call him Mr. O. I don't want to mess your name up, Mr. O. As someone, Mr. O, I got to give a shout out to Mr. O, as someone who's spent a lot of time trying to get younger kids catch a baseball and throw a baseball and shoot a basketball. I have two girls now. We're learning to play an instrument, and the challenges that come along with that, I can't just walk outside the house, so I just take it, but I certainly appreciate your efforts. Christiane Pearson, this is, I believe, your second year, wherever you are. Thank you very much. Wonderful job. Thank you. I'd like to also recognize our past recipients who have come back to join us, Clayton and Luke Schneider, and Brookie Donnie. You guys, take a stand. And I'd also like to introduce and recognize the Reich family, who for 19 years have supported this and understand the importance. Ray and Sue Reich, Stephen's parents, are here. His sisters, Megan and Anne Marie, and Megan's son, Owen, who you saw some time ago as a young boy in one of those slideshows. So as always, thank you for supporting this. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. We've had a wonderful line of guest speakers, and this year is no different. He is one of our own, a native of Washington, Connecticut, and a graduate of the Shepaug class of 2012. While at Shepaug, he was a model UN participant and was active in theater. He played basketball, was a member of the track team. But one of his proudest achievements was being selected as a recipient of the 2012 Stephen Reich Memorial Award. Upon graduating from Shepaug, Mr. Welsh matriculated onto the State University of New York Maritime College at Fort Schuyler, New York, where he graduated in 2016. He was conferred a Bachelor of Engineering degree in Electrical Engineering with an unlimited horsepower third assistant engineer license of steam motor gas turbine for propelled vessels. Upon graduation, he commissioned into the Strategic Sealift Officer Force as an ensign and began a civilian career as a third assistant engineer with Military Sealift Command. Lieutenant Welsh has sailed on Military Sealift Command various platforms, each with its unique mission. He supported the maritime pre-positioning ship squadrons as third assistant engineer aboard the United States naval ship Lewis and Clark and the Sacagawea. He also supported Bataan Amphibious Readiness Group and embarked 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit while aboard the United States naval ship William McLean and the U.S. Navy 5th and 6th Fleets. Finally, he supported the United States naval ship Zeus, serving as the cable engineer on the Navy's only operational cable laying and repair ship. Lieutenant Welsh most recently served at Commander Task Force 63, Military Sealift Command, Europe and Africa, as the Strategic Sealift Operations Officer. Additionally, he has assumed collateral duties as a Commander Task Force 63, Service Duty Officer, Port Engineer, Action Officer, and Deputy Exercise Planner in support of Defender Europe 2021. His personal awards include the Navy Commendation Medal, the National Defense Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Medal, Naval Reserve Sea Service Medal, Ribbon, and Pistol Marksmanship, as well as multiple civilian awards from the Military Sealift Command. Please join me in welcoming back to Shepaug Lieutenant Brendan Welsh.
Thank you, and good morning. I'd like to start off by thanking Mr. Scott Workoven for inviting me to speak today, and for Mr. Mike Kirsten for that thorough introduction. You guys do a great job, and the rest of the Reich Committee do a great job year in and year out organizing this ceremony. I'm grateful to the Shepaug community for hosting me today and giving me the honor to speak. And finally, I'd like to thank the Reich family for giving us the privilege to honor Stephen's memory by recognizing in his name an outstanding Shepaug student. Today is a solemn but inspiring day of remembrance. I love coming back to Shepaug to join in celebrating the life of an exceptional son of Washington, Stephen Reich. As I have walked through my life, I have realized the Region 12 community is unique. In this school system, we value scholarship, learning, athletics, and extracurriculars, all things that contribute to a great education. But we also promote citizenship and the idea that service, character, and leadership count just as much as academics and athletics. Sometimes it is tough to walk out these values, such as completing the citizenship graduation requirement of 30 community service hours before walking across that graduation stage. That obligation can feel like a burden when you have seemingly more important things to do. but it is an obligation born of the idea that we must give back to our community and invest in the place that has so heavily invested in us. As I have met people from other corners of the United States and the world, I have come to notice that communities that value sweat equity, which is the unpaid labor that goes into a project, that those communities produce better citizens who go out into the world and become the leaders of tomorrow. In a cultural and political climate that can sometimes feel divided and broken, I am comforted in the knowledge that there are places like Shepaug producing people who understand the value and work that goes into preserving this American experiment. It is with this in mind that today we will present an award that seeks not only to honor Major Reich, a great person and soldier, but to recognize a deserving student citizen, one who values and embodies character, service, leadership, and achievement. Believe it or not, 16 years ago today, freshman Brendan sat in this auditorium and had some of the same thoughts you may be having now. How does one lead a life of service, character, leadership, and achievement? I can't tell you the answer. Thankfully, I can point to Stephen Reich as a concrete example of what ideal citizenship can look like. His example lives on in the memories and hearts of his family, friends, colleagues, classmates, townspeople, teammates, and soldiers whose lives he touched. Those people then, in turn, turned around and are able to share his legacy such that my life has been unquestionably influenced by his, despite never having had the opportunity to meet him. But your journey does not need to look like his. Maybe your story includes taking your skills to the Peace Corps and changing lives by providing international humanitarian disaster assistance and development assistance. Or maybe your story involves volunteering with the local fire department and changing lives at someone's time of greatest need. During this high school period of constant change, where you are laying the foundation for the rest of your lives, consider how citizenship can play a role. And however you choose to serve, give it your whole heart. Recently, I had a chance encounter with a young man who showed me how he served with his whole heart. I was participating in a joint military exercise overseas, and it was around lunchtime that I went out to the food trucks. After grabbing some chow, I walked to a stoop of a nearby building when all of a sudden the soldier snapped to attention, saluted, and gave me the greeting of the day. I was a little jarred because this is not the enthusiasm and excitement with which I'm often greeted. So I asked to sit next to him, and we chatted. I asked how his day was going and how he was enjoying his training. With great gusto, this soldier thanked the United States for all the assistance that had been rendered to his army, and he was ready to go back to the fight. Hoping to lighten the mood, I went to ask him about how he was enjoying the food from the food truck. He enjoyed today's meal and listed off the various foods that he had tried: tacos, hamburgers, gyros, but that he had still not tried pizza. It was his personal mission to try all the American food he could possibly find. I didn't realize at the time that there was no pizza truck, so after we parted, like two ships in the night, I was not sure if he was able to get that slice of pizza before he left his training. A slice of pizza. So relatable, so human, so normal. When I think back on that meeting and I talk of that slice of pizza, that's when the significance of military service viscerally hit me. And the gravity of Memorial Day and ceremonies like today took on a new dimension. where words, speeches, and policy meet the reality of war. Here was a normal guy, not much younger than myself, who wanted so badly to try a slice of American-style pizza before he went back to the front lines of Ukraine. A man who was leaving the relative safety of training to return to a brutal war with some 500,000 combined Russian and Ukrainian reported casualties. This moment was significant to me because it showed the point of taking an ordinary man and soon putting him in the extraordinary circumstances of trench warfare, drone strikes, and heavy bombardment. Today, we remember one of our own, a Shepaug graduate who gave his whole self to an extraordinary rescue mission in the mountains of Afghanistan, who fully personified the Night Stalker creed to serve with the memory and pride of those who have gone before, who feared no foe, never gave up, and fought to win. We, as a community, come together to memorialize and celebrate those who, like Stephen, lived fully and fought relentlessly for our American ideals of freedom, equality, and self-governance. Here in America, this Memorial Day, thousands of communities come together to remember the 646,596 soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and merchant mariners who have been killed in action since the American Revolution. We remember the more than 539,000 veterans who perished from non-combat related causes. And we remember the hundreds of thousands of others who were able to come home and carried the scars of conflict on their hearts, on their bodies, and on their souls, who have since crossed the bar. This weekend, after the prom and parties, take Monday to be a day of reflection and recommitment to our communal values. Take time to reflect on two things. First, reflect on your individual call to service. How can you exercise your civic duty to preserve the ideas for which so many people whose names are unknown to you fought and died? And second, reflect on the humanity of our fallen. Join the local community parade, follow to the cemetery, find the war memorial, and then pick a name and reflect on the humanity of that name on the stone. Recall that these names listed used to be children running around in the backyard while Dad filmed with a camcorder. Those names were friends who hung out together after school. They were platoon teammates doing military field training exercises together and overcoming obstacles. And maybe they were soldiers who just wanted a slice of pizza before they headed out on their next and possibly last mission. That they traded their futures for freedom and democracy should not be forgotten. I leave you with the words of Civil War veteran and Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, who says, "At the grave of a hero, we end not with the sorrow at their inevitable loss, but with the contagion of their courage." When you leave after this ceremony, walk with the courage of their sacrifice. May God bless the memory and souls of our deceased service members. May God bless the ideals and causes for which they took up arms. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you. thank you, Brendan, for joining us. We have an opportunity this morning to remember a Shepaug graduate, to honor his life of service and sacrifice. We have an opportunity to reflect on the significance of Memorial Day and the cost of our freedom, and an opportunity to remember all who've given their lives so we can be safe, secure, and free. This award is given each year to a Shepaug student who demonstrates character, service, leadership, and achievement. And though through this we recognize one of our own students. When this award was established 19 years ago, we wanted the criteria to reflect Stephen's life, but also be attainable to every Shepaug student that walks through these doors. Character, service, leadership, and achievement are things that we can all demonstrate in our daily actions. I'd like to share a quick story about leadership as told by someone who served with Stephen. And several years ago I used this and came across this article again recently. But Matt Brady was a platoon leader in a Night Stalker helicopter unit. And his direct commander was Major Reich. So on the night of June 27, 2005, Mr. Brady was one of those responsible for planning and executing a mission to insert 4 Navy SEALs into a remote mountainous area of Afghanistan to track the Taliban leader. The next day, the SEAL team was compromised and soon surrounded and outnumbered by enemy forces. During the course of the firefight, Lieutenant Michael Murphy, the leader of the SEAL team on the ground, placed a call for help, exposing himself to enemy fire in the process. Lieutenant Murphy was posthumously awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his act of bravery in his attempt to save his team. And if any of you have seen the movie Lone Survivor, it is based on this mission. When the call came in, the SEALs were in trouble. A plan was quickly put together and a rescue mission was underway. Mr. Brady, being the pilot that dropped them off and still being responsible for the men they left, coordinated with his platoon and the SEALs that they would carry in as reinforcements to devise a plan. When the helicopter they were on was preparing to take off, Major Reich boarded to ask about the plan. He gave his approval with one change. He would lead the mission, and Mr. Brady would stay behind and monitor from headquarters or from their base. The helicopter was shot down by enemy forces as they were approaching their landing zone to offload the Navy SEALs. All 8 Army Night Stalkers, all 8 Navy SEAls on board were killed, as well as 3 of the Navy SEAls. They were going to help. So Mr. Brady went on to describe the lessons in leadership he learned from Major Reich that day. One is that leaders belong at the point where decision-making is critical. A second is good leaders never ask others to do things they would not do themselves. How could Stephen ask his men to undertake the mission if he wasn't willing to be with them? Mr. Brady wrote that this was, quote, the most valiant act of sacrificial leadership he had ever witnessed. But how can we apply these lessons? Leaders are present when decisions need to be made, using the best information you have possible. And leaders act. The best leaders don't stand back and tell others what to do. They act. Good leaders know leadership is selfless. You only ask others to do things that you are willing to do. One of the other criteria is achievement. And achievement is about doing the best with your ability. You can't have significant achievements without perseverance. And Stephen's accomplishments here at Shepaug, at West Point, as a Night Stalker pilot, were a product of his perseverance. Think about some of the significant accomplishments we have seen this year. Halo nominations, drama productions, Berkshire League champions, individual best performances, concert performances, classroom success, and some of the senior projects going on right now. None of these are possible without your perseverance. None of us do things particularly well the first time or have success immediately. You're going to fall down and experience failure. But how do we respond? And significant accomplishment requires perseverance. The characteristics of this award reflect how Stephen lived, and there are lessons in his life and through this award for all of us. We can be kind, treat others with respect, and set a positive example. We can help others and work to get the most out of our abilities. And we can demonstrate perseverance. And how you do this or don't is a choice. But we can make the choice to demonstrate character, service, leadership, and achievement. And now I'd like to ask Megan to join me, please. Stephen's sister, Megan. So, a couple of quotes from the nominations. This student inspires me to be brave, optimistic, and humble. Okay. This student is a genuine leader, incredible strength and perseverance. And that's Claire Kirsten.
Thank you once again to our chorus and our band, and thank you to everybody for attending today and making this such a special day. And congratulations to Claire, and how about another round of applause for Lieutenant Welsh.